good evening to all of you. I thank the organizers and IOA committee members for giving me this great opportunity to present about the open injury management. I'm going to talk about the management in the casualty, that is from arrival to the operation theater. We all know that the road traffic accidents are quite high, especially in developing countries like us, where the incidence is very high, and the diaphyseal fractures are more common, especially the open tibia injuries are very common. In our institution, in a year, we can see that up to 50% of open injuries are located in the tibia. In the emergency room, the moment patient arrives, the first thing that we need to look at it is the patient's general condition. The hemodynamic instability is the first concern that we need to consider, because the patient presents many times the open injuries are high velocity injuries. They present with a polytrauma situation along with the open injuries. So first thing is to look at the patient general condition, and we need to follow the ATLS protocol. And in fact, the treatment starts at the emergency room, uh, which determines the further outcome, like morbidity and mortality of the patient. The first step that we need to do is damage control resuscitation. Already, whatever the damage that has happened because of the injury, we need to control and we need to resuscitate the patient. First thing is to look at regaining permissive hypotension, that is systolic BP up to 80 to 90 millimeters of mercury. We should not aim to raise the BP beyond 100 and 110, because sometimes the more the systolic BP in the injury situation, there can be further bleeding and patient can deteriorate further. So it is we need to maintain at permissive hypotension level at 80 to 90 millimeters of mercury, and we need to concentrate on resuscitating with fluids and blood products. Along with that, the damage control procedures like skeletal stabilization is also a part of the resuscitation, which controls the bleeding from the bone and reduces the pain, and it is a part of the damage control resuscitation. The first step that we need to do is once we look at airway, breathing, circulation, uh, we need to get the access, IV access, and then we need to start the fluids. Which one to choose among all these fluids is very important. Normal saline and ringer lactate are commonly generally used, which doesn't cause any problems. Rest of them, like electrolytes and colloids, should not be used. And the optimal fluids of resuscitation, either normal saline or ringer lactate can be used. And along with that, what we need to do is we need to give up to 1 liter of bolus dose, and according to the modified ATLS protocol, followed by more number of blood products like packed red cell blood cells, FFP, and platelets in 1:1:1 ratio. We need to concentrate on blood products, and we should not push too much of saline or ringer lactate also. And when we are transfusing whole blood, we need to consider hypothermia, acidosis in massive blood transfusion as well. And whenever there is a large bleeding, when there is a hemorrhage is more, tranexamic acid also is can be considered, and it is more beneficial if we use within 3 hours of injury. After looking at ATLS protocol and resuscitation of the patient, we need to document each and every incident, from how the incident has happened, what was the treatment given on the site of accident, if there is any treatment given, or any other local hospital if was taken and treatment given, we need to note down. And then any other injuries to the accompanying passengers also, which will tell us whether the injury is very high or low velocity injury. And we need to look at comorbid factors like diabetes, hypertension, ischemic heart diseases. And important thing that we need to do in casualties, we need to take the photograph of the wound, so that it is possible to circulate it with through the mobile phones, or and we can look at the pictures multiple times also, and we don't need to open the dressing. In the casualty, it is better to apply the dressing and take the photograph and store it. And we need to look at the whole limb has to be exposed, whole body has to be exposed, and look at any other injuries apart from the limb. Many times There might be missed injuries, which we see in the other parts of the body, like chest, abdomen, and pelvis region. And we need to look at any sharp tenting bone projecting through the skin or about to break the skin. We need to look at, and if there is any grossly deformed limb, we can slowly, gradually correct it and keep it in normal alignment. And we need to assess the neurological status of the limb, and look at whether there is any compartment syndrome in the limb because of the injury. And we need to look at the vascularity assessment. The limb viability is very important, which can be documented casualty, and it is very important to note, which will decide the track of our management. And we need to look at the once we see the general condition of the patient, we resuscitate, and then we look at the whole body of the patient and look for the other injuries. And then we need to look at the limb, and in the limb we need to look at the size of the wound and the severity of the wound. Sometimes the size of the wound alone doesn't represent the severity of the injury, so we should not fall for the small wounds. So importantly, once we take the photograph in the casualty, we need to apply the sterile dressings, so that we don't the exposure to the external environment will come down. And we can open it only when we are taking to the theater. Inside the theater, after giving anesthesia, we can open it. Till then we don't need to open it. And then if we want to see the wound again and again, we can see the photograph of the wound. And whenever there is a hemorrhage that is happening, like gross bleeding, we need to have a good compressive dressings to arrest the bleeding. Or if it is too heavy, we can apply the tourniquet also, which needs to be very carefully monitored till you deflate it. So when there is a large bleeding in the casualty, better not to apply any blind clamping like this. We should not attempt. It is always better to apply compressive dressing and then take him to the theater as early as possible. So the first question is, what can we do when the bone is seen like projecting through the open wound? In our institution, we don't reduce the bone immediately when we see the patient in the casualty. We don't give any wash in the casualty. We just apply the sterile dressing and then splint the limb and then proceed for the investigations and evaluation. And our aim is to take the patient as early as possible to the theater rather than washing in the casualty. Washing in casualty, there is a disadvantage that sometimes we may push the contaminants more deeper into the compartments or into the bone, and which may not be possible to do proper debridement in future, and then that can be a source of infection. So why we should not reduce in the casualty is that whenever the injury happens, like the person is traveling in the moving object, and one more moving vehicle comes and hits the limb, that kinetic energy of the moving object comes and the moment it touches the body, the whole energy gets transferred to the limb. And the whole energy, when the limb absorbs, the energy gets absorbed by not only the bone, but also the tissues. The momentary negative suction effect happens, and then immediate tear in the skin happens, and the bone gets projected out, and the negative suction effect sucks out whatever is the surrounding dirt or mud or even leaves, whatever is the dirt, foreign material lying outside. That momentary suction effect makes it to go more deeper inside. Sometimes it can go onto the opposite side of the bone also. So in these situations, if you try to reduce it, then it is very difficult to again dislocate it, and then sometimes we may not do proper debridement, which can lead to infection. And also the dislocated joints like this, we need to look at as early as possible. We need to take him to the theater to debride the wound rather than washing in the casualty and then reducing it and putting the slab. In our institution, we don't do any immediate reduction. We take the patient as early as possible to the theater. So as I told earlier, washing sometimes takes the contaminants more deeper inside, and it can push more into the other side of the compartment. We can see that this limb, even though externally there are no contaminants seen, but when we lift the facial layers, we can see that there are a lot of contaminants, mud and dirt, which were lying on the road, have been sucked inside. and the debridement is very important in these situations, which will be dealt in the next successive lectures. And the, as early as possible, debridement makes to achieve good outcome in this like this. We need to look at the signs of vascular injury. What are all the signs of vascular injury that we see are any absence or even significant difference in the pulse and severe hemorrhage. If there is a lot of bleeding around the wound, which tells us that there is a vascular injury, and in expanding hematoma underneath the skin also can tell us that there is a bleeding inside the limb. And we need to look at the neurological deficit, altered temperature, and when there is no capillary refilling, it also tells us there is a vascular injury. And absent pulse oximeter is one more important parameter that can tell us that there is a vascular injury. So in casualty, it is always the moment we see the patient, immediately we may not be able to feel the pulse. So resuscitate the patient. First, bring the BP to the permissive hypotension level, and again reevaluate the vascularity. So, which will tell us correctly whether there is any real vascularity or vascular injury is there or not. If the vascularity is not seen, next subsequently we can do Doppler or CT angio to rule out any vessel injury. The CT or angio will tell us where exactly is the location of the injury and type of block, whether there are any collaterals, whether we need to go for subsequent vascular procedures. Neurological examination is very important. Motor power may be difficult due to pain, and touch and pinprick testing is possible in autonomous zone. And it is a part of the neurological examination is a part of the compartment syndrome problem. And there is no role of any cultures that we take in the casualty. Important thing in the casualty that we need to do is, once the patient is stabilized, we splint the fracture and take a photograph and apply the dressing. And after that, we need to look at giving the antibiotics as early as possible. Now the current evidence says that it is the as early as possible we need to administer the antibiotics. And whenever there is organic or sewage contamination, we need to consider giving additional metronidazole. And tetanus toxoid is very important, especially in farm yard injuries. In our hospital, we follow the guidelines like cephalosporins are given routinely. Initial bolus dose of 1.5 grams, followed by 8th hourly 750 mg of cefuroxime. And after the debridement, 2 days of antibiotics are given. Along with cephalosporins, amikacin is given. And if there is any farmyard injury, we consider giving additional metronidazole. And if there is any penicillin allergy, clindamycin is considered. And the current guidelines is that 2 to 3 days of antibiotics is sufficient. We don't need to continue throughout the period of patient stay in the hospital, and that can give additional antibiotic resistance, and there is no additional added advantage. And when we consider giving more days of antibiotics, especially aminoglycosides, there is a possibility of the patient who can likely get injured to the kidney. Like they can cause injury to the kidney and then cause subsequent failure of the kidney. So there is no added advantage. Recently, we also did a DNB thesis, which was submitted recently, 2 days versus 3 days of antibiotics. And with the 2 days and 3 days also, there is no difference in the outcome and infection rate. One more important thing after giving antibiotics is that we need to look at taking the x-rays of the limb which is got injured, and then look at the systems, other systems where any other injuries are there, and we need to consider taking the trauma series of x-rays. Here, the limb completely has to be included with the above and below joints, where the dislocation can be missed sometimes. And one more important use of x-ray is that the x-ray will tell you, the extreme right picture shows that there is extensive soft tissue, gas shadow seen just next to the bone, which tells us that there is a open wound which has sucked the whole contaminant materials and also air up to the proximal third level, which is very important to open it properly and then debride it to the level where it is gas shadow is seen. Otherwise, there is a possibility of infection of the tissues. And one more important thing that we need to look at is when we are transferring for trauma series of X-rays, we need to consider using slides so that the shifting mechanism becomes more easy, because when you resuscitate the patient, the BP is maintained at around 80 to 90 or about 100. Sometimes the moment patient is shifted, that movement can cause pop the clot phenomenon, where the clot can get dislodged, and again re-bleeding can happen, and many times patient can get arrested or collapse in the X-ray room or CT room also. So we need to be very careful. In while shifting the patients. Using slides is better, and as much as possible better to avoid multiple shifts. Apart from limb injury, we need to consider regularly the trauma series X-rays like pelvis, chest, and spine, cervical spine, which are more possible, which are commonly gets injured. And apart from X-rays, we can consider CT imaging also in few patients.
Can you just hurry up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you wind up, please?
Yes, sir. When there is an intra-articular fracture, we can look at taking a CT scan, which tells us better idea of the injury. And whole body CT is important, especially in polytrauma situations, to rule out other systemic injuries like head injury, abdominal, chest, and pelvis, which are more likely to cause mortality. So to conclude, earlier transfer to nearby trauma center with multidisciplinary care is very important for a better outcome. ATLS protocol is very important to follow on arrival. Documentation of the wound and splitting the fracture and sterile dressing application are very important. Neurovascular examination and trauma series X-rays needs to be done. And early administration of antibiotics in the emergency room is very, very important to prevent infection. Thank you, sir.